Perfect. So I want to maybe start off with this first question for you is what are you looking? I don't want to assume yes, but you're here to develop skills in your career in medical product development. I just want to make sure people are in the right spot. So if you guys can use the chat, let me know if this is where you are today in your career, and you're looking to develop skills in this particular area. Perfect. Radhika says yes. Jasmine and Tamalika are still thinking. Okay, perfect. Okay, all right, awesome, good. I tell people grab some water, piece of pen, paper. I like to, even if you guys, it doesn't matter whether you apply for the program or don't, or whatever you end up doing, what's right for your career. My goal today is not just to give you like an hour-long presentation on all the courses we'll be doing and so on. I want you to learn something from our time together. So please try to get rid of any distractions, cell phones, Instagram, Facebook, anything that's going to pull your attention away if possible. I know some of you are calling from work, and I apologize that you have to do that. We'll try to see if we can do these webinars at a different time. So I appreciate you kind of mentioning that to me. And then I want you to bring one emotion to our time together. Maybe it's, you're curious about the program. Maybe you're excited to start a new educational journey. Whatever it might be, bring an emotion to the table today, so which will kind of carry forward for the rest of our time together. So my next question for you is, what has been the hardest part for you in terms of I hear like a couple of you at least saying you're working, or maybe all of you on the call today are working in some sort of projects or some job, or something that you're doing right now, and looking to transition into medical product development. So I want to hear from you, what's been the hardest part of making this leap or transition for you? So if you can put it in the chat, that'd be great, but you can speak up to whatever is easy for you.
For me, the difficult part has been getting my foot in the door. I am trying to get experience in the medical device industry, but it's been difficult to find a way to step into a company that works on these types of products. So I feel like if I develop my skill set through a graduate program, that would definitely help me get into the industry a lot more smoothly.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, let me just see. So we have one more person that just joined. Yep, that's great. So Radhika, thank you for sharing. Absolutely. So I think the degree can help and complement, I would say. You still have to do other things outside the degree, but it definitely gives people the right, shows people that your intent is to transition into this role. And then somebody else mentioned Jasmine mentioned working in a startup and having to wear different hats would probably be the hardest part. Absolutely. I think that's hard for everybody, whether you're in medical devices or no. Startups are a pretty crazy place. It's exciting and fun, but it also comes with a lot of pressure and just a lot of work that needs to be pulled off, right? So I get that. I've myself worked at a startup for 3 years of my career. Cool. All right. Sudhir and Radhika, if you guys want to chime in about your challenges in getting into a career in medical product development.
Yeah, so I'm currently a CRA at Abbott, which is a medical device, at least within the medical device company. But I think one of the hardest things for me has been navigating, I guess, like what I can do, as I progress as CRA 1 to what's after that, and trying to figure out where I can kind of take my career. I know there's a lot of different routes you can go. So I feel like, getting, going to grad school and learning about medical device, like product development, I think that can be very beneficial and almost as a guide for me.
Yep, that sounds good. Yeah, and I think we'll cover that in the session today. Actually, we're going to cover all of this in some shape or form with working at a startup and just also getting your foot in the door. And what are some of the skill sets you need to develop? I'm actually going to share with you what the Department of Labor in the United States says that the skills you need to have to be in this field. So we're going to talk about that today. Suhail, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name the first time around. Is there anything else you want to add or share before we go to the next slide? Okay. Maybe he's trying to talk, but he's muted. Okay, no worries. So expectations from today, I think you guys kind of shared the hardest part, but aside from that, are there any expectations that you have from today? Like, what is it? Is there one thing that you're like, I really need to know this before we end the call?
So hi Kunal. Sorry, I was speaking when I was mute. So I mean, my main purpose of attending this seminar because I wanted to know what are the downstream application of this particular course. Like, is it management per se, or is it the clinical trial direction kind of, management of the clinical trial or the medical device industry itself? For example, there are so many medical devices are circulating in the field. So it's a like kind of leadership role in the device discovery and validation and then final launch and all that process, or is it primarily focused towards the clinical trial side of the business?
Yeah, it's blended. To answer your question right away. So it's not just medical device. So we have courses, and I'll share that towards the end of the webinar, but we have courses in medical device and drug development. And then we have courses in clinical trials, but also non-clinical trial courses like regulatory affairs is an example. We have regulatory affairs 1 and 2, or I think it's called SMPD 283A and B. And the A courses for drug development, the B courses for devices. So, and then we have bioinformatics, and then we have managing people, which goes back to your initial comment about leadership and so on, and like management track. It is not an engineering course. I will just tell you that. This is not an engineering program. This is, but it's not solely related to clinical trials, exactly.
Got it. Thanks, Kunal. Thanks. Very
no
helpful.
problem. Yeah, I am going to try to unmute somebody that is on the call, and if I can somehow, I don't see this person. So hold on one second. Fen, I can't see you on this call for some reason. But let me see if I can. Oh, there you go. I found it. All right. Okay. So you are unmuted now. So thank you for joining, Fen. Actually, Fen, anything else you want to add? Or I know you just joined us. Any questions or comments or any expectations you have from today? All right. So maybe you're still trying to unmute yourself. Jasmine, Tamalika, Radhika, anything from you to ask in terms of expectations or mention?
I suppose I'd like to learn about the medical device design aspect of this program as well.
The medical device aspect of design, like what part of medical device process is covered in this program? Is that your question?
Right.
Okay. Yep. Cool. We can talk about it. All right, so we will touch on that towards the end. I'll share the workflow or like the course sequence. It will be more clear as we do that. So there's 3 parts of the session today. The first part is the future of medicine and healthcare trends. This is kind of what is happening right now as we speak. So we'll talk about what healthcare topics are trending. There's a huge push towards precision and personalized medicine, and then job statistics in the medical and health services, for medical and health services managers. So this is a tool that I found called Exploding Topics. And if you go to Exploding Topics and you search healthcare AI, it will show you this little pretty graph. And the graph shows that since 2016 till present day, we've seen a huge spike in healthcare AI. I think we're seeing that now way more than we were like back in 2022. You guys probably hear this buzzword all the time. And I myself work at a company, at a startup that basically made your medical device smarter using machine learning algorithms. So, so a lot of the medical devices that have been invented in the last 5, 6, 7 decades, they are mechanical devices that are not smart inherently. They don't really collect data. So now we're shifting and changing those medical products or medical devices into making them smarter so that they can collect your data in real time in a continuous manner to help you manage, and help patients manage their diagnosis, their treatment, and so on, and also help healthcare medical providers do the same. So we are seeing a huge shift in this space. So there's obviously medical devices, for example, for EKG. Like you could even your Apple Watch will tell you what your heart rate is in real time in a continuous manner. We couldn't do that not too long ago. So there's continuous data collection that's happening in different sorts of medical products. Like the EEG device that I worked on, we basically put a headband on people's head, and within 5 minutes, the doctor could say whether or not this person was experiencing seizure or no. To do something like that just a few years ago, it took, or even like until recently, it took 4 hours for a technician to come in, set up the EEG, and then actually get a read. So doing something in 4 hours versus 5 minutes is a huge difference. So a lot of the medical products that are existing in the market today are at some point going to get smarter, and they're going to change how those products are designed. Not everything will be like that, but a lot of things will be like that. The next thing is Internet of Things. So how are things connected? So how is the patient care connected in with real-time monitoring and access to data instantaneously? Like I think using continuous glucose monitoring as an example, I think we have somebody on the call today who's from Abbott, Almeida. I'm guessing you work in diabetes, but maybe not. But with diabetes care, you can now track in real time to monitor your diabetes with continuous blood glucose monitors, which is kind of what this IoT is. And that's just one example of how we're seeing the shift. Okay. All right, Radhika said yes. And then finally, precision medicine and personalized medicine. I think as you guys even if you just search the FDA's website, they have a bunch of stuff on rare diseases. And I think now there's a lot of incentives in place for companies to develop medical products for rare diseases, like drugs, for example, for patients with rare diseases. By rare diseases, it means only 8,000 people, roughly 8,000 people or less are impacted by that disease in the United States to be qualified for that. There's a huge push to use AI, to like we talked about in wearable devices like CGM, for example, other monitoring sensors. How does AI improve point of care diagnosis like ultrasound? Can AI make medical analysis more efficient and accurate? So right now, medical images are obviously read by radiologists, and the radiologist will confirm, yes, this person's cancer has progressed or not progressed. But we are already using AI to tell the doctor, okay, based on what we see, the images from the last visit the patient had to the visit that the patient had today, there's already a difference. Like the tumor has progressed, or the tumor has not progressed, or has stayed the same. And AI is able to do that these days. Same thing with number 4. Can AI improve cancer diagnosis and treatment? And what if we amplify the rate of drug discovery with AI? So rather than having to, how do we kind of figure out which compounds are going to give us the highest success rate with the patient outcomes? Rather than going through all the clinical trials and everything, with drug discovery, how do we kind of find compounds that have the maximum chance of success and doing that with artificial intelligence? I was talking to a lady from Mercy Research. She's a VP at Mercy Research. It's a 40 hospital system in St. Louis, Missouri. And you can check it. I host a podcast on clinical trials. Her name is Joanne Levy. And Joanne has a team of managers that she report to her. She's a VP of research. And they've actually created a department just for precision and personalized medicine. which is kind of shows that even large hospital systems are realizing how important this is, moving forward. There's another clinical trial that I worked on where the patients were pediatric patients, like little kids with seizures, and these kids were getting a drug dosage, but the dosage wasn't optimized to the weight of the patient or like how old the patient was. So this clinical trial basically said if you were 0 years to 2 years, you would get X amount of drug. If you were 2 years to 6 years, you'd get so much drug for your seizure. And if you were 6 and 11, then you'd get this much drug. And it's just, it's really crazy to think that people were just being given, or patients were just being given a standard drug dose, but it wasn't tailored to the person's age and weight. So, obviously that's another example of like personalized medicine. So we're seeing a lot of that. So this is an example I want to share with you. The Aura Ring. Do you guys know what the Aura Ring is? Does anybody here know that?
No.
Okay. All right. So Aura Ring is basically a ring that you put on your finger. It's a smart ring, and it can track your sleep. It can tell you how well you're sleeping, and if you're not sleeping well, it will help give you recommendations. There's an app that goes with it, and it's a pretty slick design. However, they are now doing clinical trials on women basically, and seeing when women are going to have their periods, for example, or when are they going to be when is like the best time for them to have a kid, when are they ovulating, and so on. So this ring is kind of like has all these sensors built in that can basically read your body temperature and tell you what's going on without you having to do other diagnostic tests. And this is all happening in real time on a continuous basis. But that's a side application of the Aura Ring. The main application is kind of tracking your sleep. So if you are somebody who doesn't sleep well, you use this ring as a patient, and then your doctor gets the data from your sleep cycles, and they can tell what is the best treatment plan for you. So in some ways, this is a medical device. It depends on what application you have. If you're using it for certain diagnoses and so on, or treatment of certain conditions, then it does become a medical device. I think right now it's available just for people to purchase. I think most recently, I just saw an email from them last week or 2 weeks ago that this product is now eligible for FSA and HSA reimbursement, which kind of means that it is considered a medical product. So we're seeing a lot of smart technology like this coming into the market. So these are the types of projects that people that graduate from this program are kind of being part of. So the next piece of our presentation, I want to talk to you guys about salaries or money. I think my belief is that if you were doing any program, doesn't matter this program or any program, you actually want to think about like how can you at least have 10x of your return on investment from doing this program. Yes, your employer might be willing to spend some money or invest some money into you taking these classes and being part of this, but it's also the time investment that you're putting in to learn and grow and develop. So for me, I think it's really important to kind of look at these numbers, but also think about like other investments you're making, not just financial, but time, energy, resources, and so on. This data is from the Department of Labor, and these are the salary numbers all over the United States. So this is not just Bay Area. This is all over the US, and these are median numbers, which means half the people get salaries on the left side of that number, and the other half get on the right-hand side of the number. So as you can see on the top line, there's $120,000, and this data is about 2 years old. So I think it's kind of changed, as you guys know, with inflation and so on. But I think this is a good conservative number of what people are making as a medical and health services manager in hospitals, state, local, and private setting. And then we have government jobs, which are slightly less, and so on. Here's another slide from May 2021 that shows that the median wages of medical and health services manager are on the highest side, $101,000. And you can pull up this data yourself on the US Department of Labor's website, versus other occupations are significantly less. But this is by far my favorite slide. It shows the growth rate in this sector. So between the years 2020 and 2030, as you can see on the top right, it shows that these type of jobs in medical and health sciences services manager, there's a 32% increase compared to other occupations, which are 9% and 8%. So relatively low growth rate versus the healthcare sector. I still remember when I was working at Abbott back in 2008 and 9, when there was a huge recession in the United States or in the world, really. And people at Abbott were getting bonuses because they just had a product that was approved and was a blockbuster product. People were, at the lowest level, they were getting 14% bonuses, which isn't too bad in the middle of a recession if you're having an early career job. So I'm not saying everything is foolproof. I think we are seeing with the recession what happens, or when things are kind of like when the economy isn't as great, the startups start to lose funding. And if they lose funding and they can't sustain through the recession, then any company, including medical product companies, do close. But all in all, this sector is growing significantly based on the data that we're seeing. So given this, I want to take a pause and I want to ask you guys, what about the future do you find to be most exciting? And you can put it in the chat or you can speak up. I think everybody's unmuted.
Hi, Kunal. I think for me, I've really been interested in like the application of AI and machine learning in biotech and pharma. So I'm excited to see how that kind of plays a role in medical devices in the future. And I feel like maybe learning a little bit about that can kind of help us get into, I guess, that sort of like mindset. And yeah, so that's what I'm excited about.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing, Radhika. And then I'm sure more excited about, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so Kunal, I am looking forward to for the strategic leadership in right scratch from determining that these will be the suitable devices for that particular industry, and then how to move forward right from the verification, validation, and then clinical trials and the launch and all those strategy makers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so the whole life cycle, like during
Yeah.
early product development to
Absolutely.
yeah. I'm more excited about the FDA approval process for new medical devices. Exactly. Yeah, FDA has a lot of new initiatives. Like I think they have a breakthrough product designation. They have another one. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it's called Fast Track or something. Yeah, I think Fast Track. I don't know the exact lingo that they use, but there's a breakthrough designation that they give medical devices to move them faster through the approval process. Hoping to see how AI can advance and take medical devices to the next level. Exactly. I think there is a huge change that we're going to see. And, people think like AI is like going to change everything tomorrow. Probably not, but it is going to change things quite relatively rapidly, I would say. And medical professions just tend to be much slower in adopting technology. But in the next 10 years, it will be a different world that we will be living in. And seeing how new research can improve medical device technologies for women. Yeah, exactly. People of color. Absolutely. I think the FDA, Tamalika, has a new guidance document that they released requiring patients of diverse backgrounds to be enrolled in clinical trials. And I think that's been going on for a while, but now they've actually formalized that requirement, and sponsors, which means medical device and drug companies, are required to provide the FDA with a formal plan of how are they going to enroll diverse patients in clinical trials. Great. Okay. Thank you all for contributing. The next up, I want to talk a little bit about the skills you need to succeed. All right. No problem, Malika. If you have to jump, no problem. I will be sending out the information from this webinar so you guys can take a look, or you can join us at a future webinar. Okay. So what skills do you need to succeed in this world? So these are 6 skill sets that you need to succeed. And I didn't make these up. These are, again, from a government website, same website, Department of Labor. And they say these are the 6 skills you need to need in order to succeed in this type of profession. As you can see, number 1 and number 6 are the only 2 like technical / analytical skills, are the 2 that are more, I guess, I don't want to say left brain, but more require you to like learn a specific technique or have specific information. Versus number 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all about people skills. Like, how do you work with other human beings? How do you communicate with other human beings? How detail oriented are you in your work? It has nothing to do with medical product about being detail oriented. You just need to know how to do this. Interpersonal skills, like how do you work with your colleagues? How do you work with your customers? How do you work with your cross-functional team, your manager, your manager's manager? And leadership skills, how do you lead your team to get them on the other side of the project? And it doesn't matter, you don't need to have a big title to be a leader. You could be working on a pretty small project or a small assignment, but you still have to influence and work with a diverse set of people. So these are the different skill sets. So next up, what we're going to do is I want to talk just about communication skills, which is number 2. Fen, I will answer your question as we go towards the end, and you'll know the answer. So going back to this, so 6 skills, I want to talk about communication skills, and I'm actually going to share with you what we teach in the program, so you kind of get a flavor of what you're learning. So there's this author named Phil M. Jones. He's an awesome guy. Check out his book. The book is called Exactly What to Say, and the magic of words for influence and impact. So this book was actually written really, I think, for salespeople, but its applications are beyond sales. It doesn't say anywhere in there that this is only for salespeople, but I found this book to be super valuable, like on the type of words we use in all sorts of communication we have with our teams, our management, and all the different the stakeholders. So the book has about, I think, 23 phrases. We're just going to cover 3 today, because I want to get more deeper into this rather than just be more superficial. So the 3 phrases are, I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to, you have 3 options, and what makes you say that? So those are the 3 phrases that the book mentions. Give me 1 second. So first thing, I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to. So, how many of you have applied for a job and you didn't hear back? Can you guys let me know if you've had that? All right, Jasmine is raising her hand. Okay, there's more people raising their hand. Okay, so Jasmine said yes. Radhika, you're saying yes. Exactly. So so the first thing you did is you applied for a job, you didn't hear back. So I guess you end up sending a message back to the employer, maybe saying, what do you say? What do you tell your employer or a potential employer? Assuming you followed up. If you didn't follow up, that's fine. But if you did follow up, what did you tell them? Yeah, you send a follow-up email. I will follow up with an email. Yeah. So if you did send a follow-up email and said, hey, I'm following up with you on this job that I applied, I'm very interested in the position, right? And you still didn't hear back, right? So the thing is that people do not like to be followed up on. It's just something people do not want to be done to them, and they are all busy in their own work and their own projects and so on. However, if you give them the benefit of doubt and say, you know what, I'm assuming you've been really busy with work and and family or whatever, and you just haven't had a chance to get back to me. So instead of starting an email saying I am following up on my previous email, or people will say I'm bumping it up or whatever, even internal communication with your teammates, it's like, hey, can you get back to me on this? And people don't appreciate that. They get a little more defensive, and everybody is obviously different. So the phrase that Phil recommends use is, I am guessing you haven't got around to, instead of saying, I'm following up. So it's just a different way of saying the same thing, but this is kind of how he thinks if you phrase it, you're more likely to get a response, because you're giving the other person the benefit of doubt that they've just been busy and they just didn't have a chance to get back to you. You send a proposal and you don't hear back. Same thing. I'm guessing you haven't had a chance to look at the proposal I sent you. Can you let me know what you think? So it's a little softer approach, which is more likely to build a positive working relationship with the person on the other side. The next one, this is one of my favorites. I feel like people just don't want to make decisions. They just want decisions to be made for them. Not always the case, but a lot of times this is the case. So giving people three options. So if you're trying to do a negotiation, and a lot of things that we also learn in this class is how to negotiate effectively, because everything in life, honestly, is a negotiation. You are negotiating with your employer, your spouse, your friend, whatever that might be. It might be small things to big things. Contracts are a very common thing that people negotiate in the medical product sector. If you're a CRA, you probably know that your, clinical trial contracts, for example, take a long time because you're negotiating with your hospitals. So giving people three options is the way to go. And the way I like to do this, or at least the way that Phil teaches you how to do this, is you give people three options. The first option is a terrible option. It's an option that they do not want to select. The second option is not so great, but it's all right. And the third option is your preferred choice. So for example, I'm negotiating a budget with the hospital, and they say, oh, they need $10,000 to do this, right? And then I'll say, okay, so first option is let's just cancel the project with your hospital. I don't think we can move forward. That's a terrible option. Nobody wants that. Second option is, well, we'll pay you $7,000. Okay, that's the second option. It's not so great for them, or maybe we'll just they don't want that, right? The third option is you say, you know what, I'll pay you $5,000 now, but I'll pay you another $5,000 after you hit your first milestone, right? So that way they're on the hook of meeting the first milestone. And then you don't put yourself in a position where you've lost $10,000 and you didn't get anything out of it. You paid a $10,000 check and there was nothing on the other side. So that's kind of how you use these options. Obviously, there's unlimited scenarios that you can have. You can reflect on some of the things that you're working on currently and how you can utilize this way of communicating, like giving people three options. And then finally, I'm curious. I don't know if Radhika is still on the call with us. I think it was her. But trying to look for jobs and so on. And then people say, oh, you don't have experience, or trying to break to the industry and trying to get into the medical device sector, for example. They'll say, oh, you don't have 2 years of experience. Sorry, we can't have you in this role. So rather than being defensive about that and say, well,
the second and third items are much quicker.
Rather than being defensive about rather than being defensive and say, hey, I have the experience. I don't know what do you mean by I don't have experience? Why are you saying that? The minute you use the word why are you saying that, or why, the question why, it just puts the other person and makes you look very defensive. Instead, Phil recommends asking the other person, what makes you say that? It will make them ponder, and they'll say, well, not really. Well, I'm just thinking about so and so. And you'll really understand what is driving their statements. So people will say, oh, this treatment is not working for our patients. And if the data shows that the treatment is excellent, like based on the clinical trial results, the publications, then if a doctor says this treatment is not working for our patients, then you say, well, what makes you say that? And maybe they will then open up and tell you all the reasons why they feel the treatment is not working for their patients. Maybe it has to do something with the workflow at their hospital or their clinic that they're not following. And then finally, the budget is too high for the services that are being performed. Like people will say that, and in that case, you can say, well, what makes you say that the budget is high? Like, tell me more. And they'll say, well, our budget was only this much, or it might have nothing to do with your proposal. It might be just something that they haven't planned for. People say you don't have the skill sets, and then you can just, if you ask them what makes you say that, and say, just looking at your resume, I don't see any sort of medical device experience. And then you will say, oh, you know what? I actually have a certification in, I'm not sure, like Association of Clinical Research Project, Association of Clinical Research Professionals, where I've, done this certification. I just haven't added it to my resume. Or I have done so-and-so as part of this project. And, I didn't mention the project in my resume, but I've actually done it. So that's how you use this third phrase. So far we've learned 3 phrases, and we're on communication skills. I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to it. It's another way of following up with someone. You have 3 options. It's a way to negotiate effectively. And the third one is, what makes you say that? It's a non-confrontational way of making progress. So I'll just stop there for a second to hear from you. What was most useful for you here in this part of the presentation? And Suhail and Jasmine, you guys are raising your hand, but I'm guessing it has to do with the previous part of our discussion.
Yeah, it was for the previous part. But I would like to say I think the most useful was the third one where it says what makes you say that, because I've gotten like responses before where oh, you do not have the skills, or you do not have that the experience that we need, or they have like people who are more experienced. So I would say this is like the most useful tip that I could use for the future.
Great. Give it a try and let me know how
Yeah.
it goes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Yes, I agree. And it's kind of hard to remember, right? Because you're used to talking a certain way. So you have to remember these phrases to then use them at the right time. But I think
Yeah.
with practice, you can do it. Let's see. I like the option suggestions. Yeah, Ben, me too. This is honestly my favorite as well. The option suggestion, like giving people 3 options, really. It just helps. It actually not only helps with negotiation, but it helps to make a decision faster, because then otherwise you're scrambling and things get delayed all the time. All right, Radhika, thank you for sharing, especially negotiation skills, and even foresight, but even your salary. Absolutely, yes, exactly. I think you want to be a little careful on how you do this with your boss, but you can totally do this for salary negotiations as well. I agree 100%. It's a conversation starter for sure. Okay, all right. So now I want to transition into the third part of the presentation, and then we'll go to the courses and all of that good stuff. I actually want to walk you guys through a project timeline. So something that we do in class, but I want to give you a flavor of what like a real lecture looks like when you are a student in the program. So one of the things we do and this is specifically in our clinical trial class, where we develop project timelines for a clinical trial from start to finish. The issue with timelines, and this applies to all sorts of timelines, not just clinical trial timelines, but all medical product timelines and just timelines for any type of project. The software is difficult to use. It can be clunky. So Microsoft Project is like one of them. I mean, I know some people are wizards, but most are not to use Microsoft Project, and makes it very tricky to use. And even Excel, like people love Excel, but then when it comes to using it as a tool, it can be sometimes difficult if you're not using it on a regular basis. The timelines are not presentable. Like Excel, it's a spreadsheet. It's hard to kind of show it to your leadership. They're not going to look through it row by row. They probably need like a visual to see. Contrary to that, other timelines, people need details. Like if you're working on your project with your project team wants to get that Excel spreadsheet timeline, or that Gantt chart. They don't want, they see the high level, but they also need the details, because then they need to know when they're going to get their pieces of the work completed. Timelines are difficult to update and maintain. So with medical product development, timelines change all the time. There's a couple of things that happen. One is patient recruitment is very unpredictable. It can go all sorts of different directions. And then the second thing is communication with the FDA. So if you have a product that requires FDA approval, you just don't know what's going to happen and how, and so sometimes it's just your timelines are a little dynamic. It's not as just making a building, and even that is, I think, not stable all the time, but it's a little more predictable than other things. And then difficult to understand, like you want your timelines to be easy to follow for your team. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to create easy to use timelines that are beautiful. They're complete. They have all the details you need. They're quick and easy to update, and they're easy to follow. Okay. So I am just going to share I'm still sharing my screen. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up the file, because I'm do this with you guys together. Give me 1 second. Okay. So I have this timeline example that I have pulled up. I'm going to open it up. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to just scrap this. We're going to scrap this. Let's grab this. Okay. So today is the 29th of November, 2023. Let's say this is a clinical trial timeline. These are the different deliverables. We're developing a clinical trial protocol. We're finalizing the budget. We're getting the IRB submission packet ready. We're submitting to the IRB. We're getting IRB approval. Then we're scheduling the training. We're conducting the training. You're enrolling your first patient. And then you're recruiting all the patients in your clinical trial. And then you're doing your data analysis. And then you're finally publishing your report. The person that's developing the protocol, say that's Sven. And then we have Radhika developing the site budget. She's also doing the submission to the IRB, and then also getting this and the IRB approval. Let's see, who else do we have? We have Suhail doing the training, and then he's going to conduct the training. And then the first patient in is the site's responsibility, and then the sites are going to recruit the patients. And then we have Jasmine doing maybe we'll have Fen doing this, and then we have Jasmine doing the final report. Okay, I just made this up, and let's say it takes us 30 days maybe 30 is too short, maybe it takes 40 days to write the protocol. It takes another 5 days to do the budget, 5 days to do the IRB submission, or creating the package, sorry, it takes another 15 days, five days to do this, or maybe 1 day to do the submission, another 10 days to get approval, 5 days to schedule the training, 1 day to conduct the training. Your first patient in is, 1 day after that. Patient recruitment takes 220 days. Data analysis takes 60 days. And then you publish the report another 45 days after that. So the way this works is you put your start date, okay? And then in the end date, there's only one formula I'm going to teach you guys, okay? Not more than that, just one. So if you don't like Excel, bear with me. You hit equal to sign, it's called work day, okay? And then you open the parentheses, you put your start date, comma, end date, okay? So you're starting your project on 29th November, you're going to end it on 24th January. And this formula, equal work days, start date, comma, number of working days, factors into weekends. So it removes weekends altogether, okay? For the sake of simplicity, what we're going to do is we're going to just put an equal to sign, and then we're going to put the end date as the start date for the next deliverable. And we're just going to pull down this little thing in Excel and pull the formula down. And we're going to do the same thing here, okay? So as you can see, within a few minutes, I have a timeline that's been created, right? I'm starting that project on the 29th, and I'm going to be done in June 2025. Do you guys see that? So this is good enough. I mean, obviously, this is a very simplistic example, but this gives you an idea of who's doing what and by when and how many days it's going to take. And we just use one formula in Excel called equals workday, start day, comma, end day, right? So that's good. Then what we're going to do is there is a software or online application called officetimeline.com. It's a really cool product, and that's what I'm going to show it to you. So you go to officetimeline.com. It's a licensed product, so you have to pay an annual fee to do this. And then you click login. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second because I want to see where this file is saved. Okay. So I went into Office Timeline, and then I'm going to click, I'm logged in, as you can see, click on Import Data, Import from Excel, Browse File, and then I'm just going to go to a bunch of things going on here. So go to SJSU, this is my file, the timeline example we were doing. Hit open, it pulls the data in. You guys can see all the deliverables and all the different people that are doing it, what the start and end date are. We hit next. we have start date, end date, and title. We hit next. We know that these are the different tasks. Let's just see what this is. And then this is all good. Let's just select all. We want all of these. I hope it lets me do this. Okay, it says free users can only import 10. Okay, I probably need a license then for this. Okay, I'm just going to. Okay, I'm going to remove the report published for now. And then hit import. And then we have all our data, and then we are going to, let's say, make some of these milestones. Like our first patient enrollment is our milestone that we're really proud of. We submitted to the IRB. We're really proud of that, and you can make the colors different. Okay, and then that's that, okay? Then what you do is you have all the data. If you click on the timeline tab here, okay, I should have added this, but cool. It's okay. I don't want to change. It's not letting me change the header. But as you can see, you have this beautiful timeline in a matter of seconds. So all we did is we took our Excel spreadsheet that I created, we imported it, it shows where we are today in 2023, and then it shows that we'll end in 2025, and all the different deliverables along the way. Okay, then you can just download this as a PNG, as a PowerPoint file, and then voila, you're done. You basically can. I'm just going to see if it's going to let me download this file so I can show it to you guys. Okay, so I don't know which one this was. Maybe it's the same one. Okay, so and then I hit download PowerPoint. It's in my downloads folder. And I don't have the paid license on this computer. But as you can see, we have this beautiful timeline that you can just insert in any slide deck, and your leadership will be like, wow, this is like pretty awesome. Like how beautiful you were able to make this look. Okay. So you have now your detailed timeline for your study team who likes to go through Excel spreadsheets and so on. But then you also have a very nice, fancy, high-level timeline. Or not high level, but it milestones, like when are you going to, like a visual timeline, maybe not a high level timeline that shows where things are. All right, Radhika says this is neat. What a useful tool. Great formula to learn. Exactly. Yep, indeed. So I love this tool. I've been using it for a really long time, and it's great. So going back to our slides. Okay. So I have this in here just to show it to you. Okay. So I'll just stop there. Any questions or comments on, or anything that you found useful? I think some of you mentioned, but if anybody else wants to jump in about Office Timeline, what their thoughts are, this would be a good time to share. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the course. So this is a course. This program is a master's program through the College of Science and the continuing education, or not continuing, the College of Science. Yeah, this is a College of Science program, 13 courses, 33 to 35 units. It's a 2-year graduate degree program. It's designed for working professionals. So all our classes are in the evening. To be honest, we're moving away from weekend classes. I got some feedback from this current cohort that we have, and they did not like the weekend classes, or not they did not like it, but they prefer not to, because if people have family commitments and so on, we don't want to interfere with those. The tuition has slightly gone up, but it's still around this amount. I should have updated it, so I'm sorry about that. But it is, I think, 33,000. So it's $990 a unit. So times 33 is about $32,670. That's the tuition for the whole program for both those years. Some people like to do this in 2 years. Actually, a lot of people like to do this in 2 years and be done. We have also some students that are kind of further in their career and they're like, well, I'm just doing this for my own learning and education. I'm not in any rush. So they'll spread it across 3 years. So it's really your choice. It's a little flexible. We don't require you to, do this in 2 years no matter what. Here are the different classes across both those years. So on the top left, the words that say clinical, so clinical 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 clinical trial courses that we have in the class. This SMPD 281A is a clinical trial design course. How do you design clinical trials? SMPD 281B, it's a 2-unit courses on clinical operations. So how do you operate or conduct clinical trials? Then we have a course from the College of Business taught by Professor Mike Hill. It's on developing and managing people. So it's more on the people development side. Then we have the biopharmaceutical regulatory affairs. So I told you guys there were 2 regulatory affairs courses, one for pharma and one for devices. So those are the 2 courses right here. Then we have a project management course, which is a 202T course. Well, that's the course number. It's 3-unit course. You can do that, or you can do business law and ethics. It's a 2-unit course. You have to do both no matter what. It's just that you can choose which semester you want, or which year you want to pick which one. This is also taught through the business school. We have a great instructor in this particular class. He's been teaching for the last couple of years in the program, and it's been great. And then we have a 1-unit course. I actually just hired somebody for next spring. This gentleman has, his name is Professor David Rutledge. Dr. Rutledge was a professor for many years, tenure track, and then worked in the industry for about 20, 25 years, has his own consulting practice, and now he is going to be teaching this 1-unit class starting next spring. Obviously, I know you guys are not going to be signing up for next spring because we don't have enrollment in spring, but he will be hopefully here the year after. And then we have in the year 2, for year 2 students, we have clinical trials management course, the 289A. This is more on the safety side or pharmacovigilance side of the program. And then we have a clinical trials seminar. This is your capstone project, your final year. In this class, we tend to cover topics with guest speakers. The idea here is to basically fill any knowledge gaps you might have, and you're like, I really want to learn this. This is the course where we have a bunch of guest lecturers that come in and do talk about different topics. So most recently, we had a guest lecturer talk about post-market clinical follow-up for medical device regulation. That's something that is new and it's not generally covered in the course. So we wanted to kind of do a presentation on that. Then we have the Managing Medical Product Development course. This is the whole life cycle. This is taught by Professor Lumba. He's been actually he was in from day one when the program started about 10 or 12 years ago. And he's also through the business school and he teaches this class. And so Professor Lumba uses Harvard Business Case Review studies in medical product development and then uses that to teach that class. And then we have statistical methods in clinical trials by Sulekha Anand, Dr. Sulekha Anand. She's part of College of Science. And then we have bioinformatics also to the computer science department, taught by Professor Vesley. So those are all the different classes that this program has. So I'll just stop there for a second to see if you had any questions or clarifications you'd like me to address.
Can you clarify the management track? Does it relate to the course or is additional like project we need to do it?
No, it's all required. It's just that there is core courses in like so these are some of these are so all the ones in the management track are management type of courses. The ones on the left, the core disciplines are more like the foundational courses that you need to learn, like things you need to know. And maybe I should almost remove this, but yeah, this is not optional, just to clarify. Yes.
Thank you.
Is there an internship portion of the program?
That's a great question. We're working on it right now. I I think right now what we do is we have a career workshop that we've designed, but that's like only like once a year for 4 hours, 5 hours, and we invite a bunch of people from alums and then existing like employers and so on, and then we do a workshop more on career development, not so much on like internship. But I am looking to kind of incorporate that more into the program. I think during COVID, things kind of were a little backwards and we were, scrambling and, things had to be moved online and so on. So I'm excited to bring some sort of internship part of this, especially part of the capstone, and letting people do their capstone project as an internship rather than actually doing getting their credits from a class per se.
I see. Thank you.
So Kunal, what kind of companies you invite for the workshops, and what kind of companies you're intending for these internship?
Yeah, so companies like Dexcom, Abbott, I think there's a company name, I'm trying to remember it's honestly, it's all on my network, like people that I know that I invite, and if they change jobs and things kind of evolve, right? But we've had data management people, like just different types of roles and organizations they represent. The idea is more on skill development with the career workshop. It's not on internship focus. I just want to be clear about that. We haven't done enough, I would say, on the internship front. Just to be completely transparent with you guys, I think we have some work to be done in that space. But on the flip side, I will say there is a lot of opportunities available, and employers are looking for people with these skill sets and this type of specialized knowledge.
Kunal, what was the enrollment time you mentioned for this one?
Enrollment time? What do you mean?
I mean, you mentioned that in spring you cannot enroll. So
Oh yeah, you can only enroll in the fall. So you would apply now for fall 2024.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. We just don't accept new students in the spring. And when this program was set up, the idea was to have a cohort-based learning. So people that join in fall will all graduate at the same time. And that's almost like most of them, that's how it's set up, which is another reason why there's no spring enrollment.
And a very naive question, like this is strictly 2-year, or there is a fast track possibility of
Yeah, it's not possible. Sorry.
Okay,
Fast track is not possible. I
Sure.
actually try to deter people from doing fast track because I think you need the space and time to absorb all this information. I find like I have one student in my class right now, and I think he's doing okay, but he's trying to like do a lot of courses at the given time. And I think it impacts your ability to really assimilate all this information and really see how the dots connect, and then actually ask good questions during the class and so on. So I really encourage people to not saying do the bare minimum, but just doing what the program is set up to do. The other reason is that people are having full-time jobs. We have about 70% of the students or more that have like full-time working jobs. So they kind of are really swamped with work, and then they have to do this, and it's a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Kunal, last question, and I'm not sure if you're the right person to ask that question about the tuition, overall tuition for this particular course.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's $990 per credit, so it's $990 times 33 credits at the most, so $32,670. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I think somebody else is raising their hand.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the internship or skill learning, is that one required in order to graduate, or is like optional because I have full-time job? I don't think I can.
Optional. Yeah, I think it's for the 20 to 30% that are looking for jobs, right? Because some of the very small percentages of students might be looking for jobs. they might be coming from a different background, and they might be looking to transition into medical product development fully or some sorts of that, right? So I'll give you an example. If somebody's a pharmacist at Walgreens and now they want to do medical product development, then they're looking for some sort of internship option. Or if somebody has gotten a dental degree from India and then she or he wants to, kind of transition into medical product development in the United States, and they're looking for some internships. But it's not required. There's no requirement whatsoever in this program to do an internship.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm trying to see. Are most of the professors teaching these courses concurrently working in the biotech field? So it's a mixed bag. I think it's half and half. Right now, I'll just tell you, like so the courses I have my own like consulting practice, and I also work with a lot of medical device companies myself. But then there's David. David is doing the same thing. David Rutledge, I was telling you guys about, and he works in the regulatory front. Mike Hill, who's in the business school, he also kind of does things out. He's not a full-time professor at San Jose State. Sheldon Mullins in regulatory affairs, drug development. He also is not. He works in the industry. He's an executive director in regulatory affairs. So I think all these people, I think maybe half of them, I think the business law and ethics course is also being taught by somebody who works in the field, not somebody who is a professor in the traditional sense. Does that answer your question, Radhika?
Yes, that was helpful. Thank you.
Okay. There's a course, no, it does not qualify as in the STEM category, and F1, and if F1 visa, F1 is possible, I don't know, but after enrollment, I think you get like a 1-year OPT, but you can get the extension, I think, which is only valid on STEM degrees.
Thanks, Kunal.
I don't know. I may have messed when Suhail, did you tell me where you're located right now?
I'm in San Jose, Kunal, and I'm working for BD Biosciences currently.
Okay. Cool. All right. And then what about you, Fen? Where are you?
I'm working in San Jose also.
Okay, great. So I have an offer for you guys. Okay. Usually I love bringing in alumni on this webinar, so you guys can ask him or her questions. Unfortunately, I didn't do it for this particular one, but we have MPDM, which is Medical Product Development Management Social, coming up on December 6th. It's next Tuesday. It is, it's from 7 to 9 really, but we're having registration start at 6:30. It's at the Silicon Valley Capital Club in San Jose, and we're going to have a lot of our alumni, some of the instructors, and a lot of the current students that are in the program at this event. We haven't done this at all. This is our first time doing it. So I'm happy to extend that invite to you guys if you would be interested. It is on December 6th, so it's exactly a week from today. But it is in San Jose, and I hear many of you live in the area, minus Radhika. I think you're a bit further north, but you're also welcome to come. So if you are interested, I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and then if you want to register for it, that'd be great. And it'd be great to see you guys. I'm going to drop the link in a second. If you have more questions, keep asking me while I pull up the link.
So sorry, Kunal, if I missed. So you mentioned that it is completely online course, and
it's not completely online. Sorry, I don't think I mentioned that. Did I? I think we said we're not doing on weekends. Right now the course is about 40% or maybe 30% in person, and 70% online.
So any particular semester is gonna be on site, and because when I was seeing that slide, three semesters were falling in the online category and one was something else. So
yeah, give me 1 second. That's a good question. I'll answer that for you in a second. So I'm just going to try to pull this up. I'm putting the link for the registration in the chat if you guys want to register. And let me see. I'm going back to the slide view. So I also we could. All right, you are talking about these, right?
Yes,
Yes, yes. I think we need to update this again a little bit. We've been playing around with different schedules. I did a survey with current students. I think there's two things that students don't like. One is they don't want to be on campus because they have to pay for parking. And then the second thing is there's traffic in the Bay Area, which really is frustrating. So this semester we have like maybe, especially of our first year students, I really want people to be trying to meet each other as much as possible. Some of those courses, like we have 1 or 2 lectures in like a 10-week course that's in person, if that makes sense. So like if it's a 10 classes for like 281A, we had two or three classes in person. Same thing with the managing people, and the same thing with regulatory affairs, right?
And there is no possibility of the hybrid.
Hybrid. It's hybrid. That's
It's
what I
hybrid.
meant. It's hybrid. Yeah. So so if there's 10 classes for each of those courses, then it's 70% online and then 30% in person. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The reason I am asking Kunal this question because we are moving to San Diego next year.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
The company itself is moving, so I mean I'm bound to move with the company, and I was wondering that
I see.
that how often
Yeah.
I will have to attend the class or something on
Yeah,
site.
I think I'm going to work on this a little bit more to make this. So I've been talking to the dean's office, and we're trying to do a majority of this online, with some in-person touches. Like we want people, because part of this is we want to meet with other people, right? And we want to learn from each other, and we can do that better in person. And I don't think we have a clear formula yet on how we're going to do this. I'll be honest. I think right now the way I explained is how our classes are set up. So if we had 10 classes this past fall or 10 lectures, 3 of those lectures were in person, and then the other 7 were online. I think for next fall, I don't know that yet, but I can let you know as I get some more clarity.
Thanks.
Is somebody else trying to say something?
I have a question. Like if say like Zoom meeting, we can do in person or we can do online version. Is the class can also have this kind of option based on the schedule?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to follow your question. You're saying that if there's a way to do the certain classes online, or even though the class might be meeting in person, is that what you're saying?
Yes, like kind of option, like
option. Yeah. I think we don't have that right now, to be honest.
Okay.
So we don't have that right now. And what I'm hearing you all say, or at least you guys are the ones that are speaking on the call today, you'd prefer to have that online option, which is consistent with what the feedback we've been receiving from the students. So I think and I'm supposed to go back to the dean's office on this, but I think my recommendation is going to be to move a majority of the program online with like only like one class, one or maybe one day a semester or 3 days a semester where people will meet in person, and the rest will be all online.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you.
So I'll just tell you, year one, this fall, these 3 top classes, we had like 3 or 4 classes that were in person, and the remaining 6 or 7 were online. Same thing. Well, this is going to be mostly online in the spring, because now people kind of know each other, and it's a little easier to navigate than before. And then for the research practicum, we're doing half and half, 50% online and 50% in person. But yeah, we're trying to. I'll know more, and I'll share it with you guys. And I understand like the reality of where things are today, and how we operate needs to adapt to that. Okay. So let me see, what else do we have? Okay, so who's this for? Who's the program for? These are all the different titles of people. As going back to Suhail's question, is like, what jobs can I get, or what other types of roles people are having? Yes, there's a lot of clinical trial roles on the left, but then there's quality, compliance assurance, medical affairs manager, regulatory roles, a lot of quality roles, regulatory affairs specialist, regulatory affairs associate, project management roles, project coordinator roles, solution specialist roles, which are like more on the technical side. So these are just some sample titles of people that graduate from this program end up having. These are the requirements for the program. You need a bachelor's degree from an accredited four-year college or university. We need copies of your transcript. The website where you applied is called Cal State Apply, and then in there you can pick MPDM, medical product development, and then you'd apply through that. If there's a $70 application fee, I believe, and then you kind of go through the steps. We need your transcripts if they're available for graduate program. There's a minimum GPA requirement of 2.5. And then need 2 recommendation letters, copy of your resume, and the statement of purpose. That's the website if you want looking for requirements. If you want to schedule like a one-on-one call with me, here's the link to do that. I'll share these slides with the group after the session today. And then here's my email if you wanted to email me with any specific questions. So that's it. That's all I had for today. But I'm around if you have more questions. This is a good time for us to discuss them.
Thanks, Kunal. Very clear, everything. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Suhail. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure. I hope you all, or most of you, can join. You're welcome, Jasmine. Okay, cool. All right. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the discussion and the presentation. If you are able, please join us on December 6th next week. It'll be great to see you guys in person. And you'll also get a feel of like the people, like who's doing what and how it's all set up. You can talk to current students to hear their experience studying in the program and so on. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I will, yeah, I saw that, Fen. Thank you for
Thank you.
mentioning that. Yep. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.